Hello YouTube, Reloading Bench back with you once again on this, what is probably going to be the hottest day of the year. And I had to get an early start today because we're going to call this video something that I absolutely positively did not need but could not pass up. So I hang out on some forums, that probably sounds weird, hobby forums, that's a better explanation. And one of my hobby forums is Reloading, and they have a classified section. And on I enjoy looking at what things cost in terms of pews and parts and accessories and miscellaneous stuff. It's just interesting to keep track of where things are at. So this is the Hornady iron press, and this is for sale today by Hornady. It's a current product, and I'll show prices as I talk through this in terms of it'll probably be like a midway price, so something reasonable in terms of cost. So this is the Hornady iron press. I'm not very familiar with it. I know it's got a funky shell feeding, and this shell that's in here right now is an H5. I'm thinking maybe that's for 308 or so. This particular unit came with all this stuff, and I'll go over each one of these. I don't know what this is. I'm thinking a primer catch cup. Don't know how it attaches. I'll have to look at the manual. An unopened Hornady lock ring. I'm thinking the lock ring is for this particular Hornady powder charge that is just screwed in here but not locked in. And there are 2 additional bushings. So here's the third lock and load bushing. And they're hard to put in without a die. I don't know if this came with the unit or not. This looks like some accessory stuff. Obviously for dies, a brush, a primer, pocket cleaner. This also has the optional automatic priming system, which the person I got this from said it never worked right, so we'll tinker with that. But here's the blast shield that screws on right about there, and here are the large and small primer rods that go into the blast shield, into the pocket, and then here are the pickup tubes for large and small primer. He also included a funnel, and he also included this Hornady scale, digital scale, which I just plugged in, and it does work if I hold the on button long enough. Did I power down my... At least it did work when I plugged it in. Maybe that's why it was included. Okay, well, it did work. I did get it to power on earlier. I'm not sure what's going on there. Ah, there it is. And it looks like it did weigh, because I have it in, let's put it in grams. And this should be close to 10. Whoops, wrong unit. G. 9.99, so it's 1/10 off. 1/100th off. So not bad. This should be 50. Yep. So 1/100th off. Not bad. I will zero that out. I don't use this particular type scale anymore. Well, let me rephrase that. I use the current version, the M2 version of this. So again, this scale is no longer for sale at Midway, and I think it was around 85 bucks when I bought it years ago, obviously plus tax plus shipping. This I know for a fact is still a current product, and I'll put the price on Midway. That's current, that's current, the priming system is current, and the iron press is current, as are the bushings. And the bonus that it came with is this patent pending, no longer made, portable bench. And he's got a 20-pound sandbag in the center. that's called the Cimarron. THEC4M3RON. Cutesy. Reload bullets anywhere is their claim. So this was, I think, $1.50-ish when it was new years ago, but I know that one is no longer made. I think the company's out of business because, quite frankly, this just didn't take off. So there was I remember when this first came out, it was interesting and kind of like, is that worth pursuing? And obviously I didn't at the time. So, and there's a hole on this side if you are left-handed and you would prefer to do powder on the right. And you know, the base itself, so I've got the ram all the way up, handle all the way down, and if I apply pressure, I can tilt this base. So if you're doing, you know, 45 ACP, 9mm, probably not a problem. 308, I don't know, in terms of, you know, if you're just seating a bullet and crimping, maybe, but resizing, I don't know. This doesn't seem like it has the right balance. But again, you know, it's got a cutesy factor to it. Yeah, maybe I could modify it to take a inline fabrication flush mount plate, you know, just cut out this particular, you know, housing and put the flush mount system in there, and then I could put anything like the green machines or something to that effect. But so all this stuff, this was the OMG purchase, you know, the ultimate reloading starter pack for a single stage. And this is a beefy single stage press. Some people love it, some people hate it. Again, it's got some unique characteristics with this particular shell holder and such. And I don't even know if it will. I don't even know how to take the shell holder out, to be honest with you, without losing a finger. So I'll read up on that, because somebody will probably say you're talking about shit you know nothing about, and that is absolutely true, because that's what a lot of my channel is. Talking about shit I know nothing about. So this whole setup was $100. $100. $100 for everything. Everything. Power supply. It looks like a dirty power supply for the scale. But you know, when I was tinkering with my green machine, I was going to buy a tube, a small primer tube, and a 3-pack of primer tubes is like $35 plus shipping plus tax. This kit alone, this auto priming kit, I'll put the price up. Again, I'll put prices of everything. So when you add all this stuff up, this was a pretty penny. And do I need a single stage Hornady press? Nah. Can I make use of it? Absolutely. And what will probably happen is this will get removed from here, because it's, you know, again, all it is two whatever you call these things. Oh, I must have tightened that in, because when I brought it home, I took it apart to put in the car. So these two, whatever these are called, a couple of washers, and that's it. Press comes off. It's just got this metal plate. So it's an interesting design, very interesting design in terms of you know, mobility. Very, gosh, again, I don't remember what year this particular stand was. I want to say it was like 4 or 5 years ago. But I think the inline fab stuff was readily available at the time. So again, the inline fab stuff isn't meant for portability, but you know, if you were to maybe modify this and put the flush plate system in, maybe you could have you know, your portable to the range setup. And I'm not a fan of taking a press to the range, so that would not be me. But for what this press is and what it came with and all the goodies, I remember when this iron press first came out a number of years ago, and I thought, ooh, should I get that to complement my my lock and load? And the answer for me was no. So now the answer for me is yes, because it's $100 for all this stuff. That's pretty kick-ass. So today was the score. It was a bit of a drive. Had to get up early. It was about a 100-mile drive each way, so hours on the road. So somebody will say, oh, it's not really $100 because you spent your time and your gas. Yeah, I'll look at it differently because I would have just been chilling on a weekend morning anyway. So time well spent, money well spent, and now we have a single-stage Hornady press to go along with all the Lee presses. So now I'll do some reading on this and figure out if I can make the auto priming system work or not, and we'll go from there. More to come maybe later. Good day, YouTubers. Reloading Bench back with you once again. As you can obviously see, this is a continuation of the Hornady iron press, and I've done some researching, some learning, and I want to follow that up with the previous segment that you might have seen or might be seeing attached to this one, and that is all the goodies that were included in this sale. The sale for $100. Think about that, $100. Because of the randomness of what was included, the scale, the powder funnel, you know, the powder measure, you know, everything with the iron press, the auto priming kit. Yes, almost all of it, except for the scale, can be purchased brand new today from, you know, the Rainforest, Midway, Mid-South. You know, pick some online retailer. They still sell all this stuff, and it's still really an expensive press. It's like a $300 press without all the goodies. Again, I think I showed prices in the previous video. But in any case, a couple things. The stuff that he included, I'm going to say he bought the iron press kit, and the kit had all that stuff, plus calipers, plus a book, plus some, I think, some other miscellaneous stuff. So I don't think he purchased everything individually. And the kit comes, you can still buy the kit today on some sites with that old scale. And the kit is about $650-ish. Then you have tax and shipping. And if you part this out individually, it's very comparably priced and such. But in any case, let's talk about the press today and what I've discovered and what I've been able to do. The first thing I did was put it on an inline fab plate so that I could get it up and start working with it. Because in all honesty, as cute as that mobile press concept is, yeah, it's just probably not for me. But what I may do with that is mount the flush plate system so that I can do this or this as it's sitting on the bench off to the side in a more mobile, you know, corner of the garage or family room kind of thing in terms of storage. But in any case, one of the things that the gentleman that sold this to me said that, yeah, the auto priming, and this is the reason why we're off tripod, because there's just no way to get a good view of this on the tripod. The auto priming mechanism, this the shuttle and this particular block here, let me get this out of the way, is the entire reason for why he was having a problem. And there's two things. There's these two mounting screws, and or something I can point with. It's a little slimmer than my fat finger. These two mounting screws, which basically control a left-rightish positioning of the priming block, but the shuttle itself, you have to make sure it doesn't bind. And it wasn't really binding per se, but I think you might have even seen in some of the other segments that it catches, or it was catching as I tap the camera. But you can, whoop, and I have no idea why that just popped off. So one moment. And we are back, and that's probably one of the quirkinesses of this particular press, this little, I don't remember what this thing is called, but as I flick it, it's really, what's the right, unstable, unsecured, and maybe this thing doesn't like to be short-stroked, but you may have seen in the previous segments that there were, at times, this particular shuttle wasn't coming all the way forward, and I'd have to tap it a little bit to seat it. I could see that part of the cup was a little bit bent because he had jammed it down before, like that right there, like that. So I don't think it likes a short stroke. That's one thing. And in its current configuration, meaning with no die and just the priming system and a particular shell holder, this is the equivalent of the and there's another example of potential binding, which is why I will be polishing the hibby-jibbies out of this some point shortly to prevent that binding. But the problem he was experiencing, in addition to maybe that binding a little bit, and I've adjusted these left, right more than a few times to try and avoid any type of binding. So I can't see anything binding, but when you pull the shuttle out, it's rough. The tooling is beyond rough. So I don't know why it catches like that right there. I do not know. I don't understand. But in any case, he only included the large priming cup rod spring. I'll reach out to Hornady to get a replacement large as well as a small. And the original priming block, the manual priming block, wasn't included with this solution, so I don't know what he did with that, or maybe it didn't come with it because he got the kit as opposed to buying these separately. But in any case, it is what it is. And again, after reading this, I'm going to call this, in fact, before I do that, I'll do that on tripod because doing it one-handed is probably asking for disaster. But the reason he couldn't get the priming to work was when you take the blast shield off, there's no play in this. So this either goes in or it goes out, and hopefully he had the right end in with the taper, but there's no play. I mean, it's in there. So the way to adjust this particular priming block is through these 4 hex screws, and he didn't have it adjusted correctly. So I will put the camera back on tripod and we'll probably aim it like right about there so you can watch me prime, and it's painful to prime. Painful because there's no easy way to get the primers out of the cup. You know, you think, oh, you just do that, and you say, no, it's not quite that easy. So we'll see. I'll put this back together, put it on tripod, and I'll show you how it now primes. All right, so I got tired of dealing with the terribleness, and look at the tooling here, and this is after what I would call a good polishing. Absolutely terrible. This was done with steel wool, and you can see, hopefully, the just terrible tooling marks. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Did some polishing on some of the parts, not everything. Some more polishing. Again, terrible tooling marks. There's, I don't know if the camera's picking that up or not. Just terrible. Sloppy, sloppy. And then the most important component, this got sanded. I mean, you could just see the cuts. How, again, just terrible tooling. Sloppy, sloppy. This thing is so messy. And again, this is a highly polished. This was sanded and polished. And again, you still have more than a fair share of imperfections. So I will put it back together and then we'll try this again. This story is difficult to tell. If it's not camera running out of battery, it's memory card full. So we are charged and we have plenty of storage space. So let's try this yet again. So I polished everything. And in my opinion, the reason why, and I'll take this apart, because when you try to feed a primer, trying to get that cup down when you have this shell plate and shell holder on is a little difficult. So it's easier for demonstration purposes to remove the shell. I call this the shell plate, shell holder. It's easier to remove those two so that you can see what's going on, for one thing, and two, I can remove the primer a whole lot easier, because now that I believe I have this adjusted correctly, so I'm going to say potentially use there. We're going to do our double alpha primafill. We'll throw 10 in here. Get my primer tube. And we now have 10 primers in here. I will put the primer follower in the primer tube so that they hopefully fall nice and clean. I mean, it's identical to a lock and load. All right, so there, hopefully, no primer. Hopefully, oh, look at that, we got a primer. Let's get my bin over here. All right, that's one. Yeah, even with that, it's challenging to take it off. Two. Again, this is almost like the RCBS automatic primer. It's essentially doing the same thing. Right now, it's just priming. What is that? 2, 4. This is number 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. And I'm going to pull the rod out so it doesn't jam anything. And hopefully we have number 10 right there. All right. So I've done this test a number of times, and it works each time, except when I want to go on video. So now we're going to just do one, because you can see that it's a challenge to get off the primer cup. And I'm trying to grab one little primer with my fat fingers. Put the primer follower rod in there. All right, so with all the pieces together, and let's for giggles put this in as well, so that we do have technically all the pieces together. Empty primer. Remove the primer follower so it doesn't get stuck. And we have a primer. And this is what I was talking about. It's really hard because you've got nothing to work with here. So it's actually easier to take these off to get to the primer and push the cup down. The other problem that I noticed, and I'm going to call this a design issue. Let's see if I can get this. The way you put this stud, spring, and primer cup in is by screwing it in, and then there's two flat surfaces. You can see the right and the left side. You're supposed to grab a pair of, pliers or something, and tighten that. And this was hand tightened when I got it, and I think that's why it was hitting the top over in this area, which is, you can see a little damage around the top of the cup that I tried to fix, reshape. Like, see how that catches right there? That's, I think, why that bends. And I have no idea why that catches there, because there is no binding anywhere. Highly polished. I'm going to call it just a design, whatever. So the system works. It feeds. Is it quirky? Yeah, I'm going to say it's quirky. But you'll probably have somebody say, what priming system to some degree isn't quirky? And then somebody will jump in and say, the RCBS automatic primer, which maybe that's true. I don't own one of those. So in this current configuration, this thing looks and operates just like an RCBS automatic primer. And what I paid for everything in this configuration is cheaper than an RCBS automatic primer. And for those of you who will or have seen, I'm not sure when I'm going to publish it, the RCBS priming tool, the standard priming tool, you'll kind of know why I'm digging or kind of bashing the RCBS automatic priming tool. So that is it. We have what I'm going to call a working priming iron press, and doing dies and making the dies work shouldn't be any issue, because these take RCBS, Lee, and Hornady shell holders. So I've got plenty of those. So for a single stage press, this was a key buy. So, all right, YouTubers, Reloading Bench back with you once again. I'm going to tack this onto the what I said was going to be the end of the iron press, but I just couldn't leave alone. So I decided that the what is it called, Cimarron, that portable bench, yeah, that's not a keeper. But I also thought, well, because of how this is designed, this is a great 4-station single stage press. So I decided to mount the lock and load powder measure into the press. And what's interesting, or what, maybe not interesting, but this was, you know, it had some surface rust. So I took this apart, cleaned everything up, and as I was doing that, naturally, because this will not fully seat because of the powder drop at the bottom, I decided to do a little more polishing to other parts of the press. So I already told you about the auto priming, I'll call this the block, that I've been tinkering with all weekend, and I've got it to a point where I think I'm good. I'm still calling Hornady for extra parts, and then I polished. I don't know if you can see it. Let me throw this down a little bit. Took these out, polished these up. So this press, cleaned little marks and whatnot. This press is in phenomenal condition, all cleaned up, and it will be, with 4 dies, a great single stage press in my opinion. So the press is a keeper. The other stuff, the scale, don't really have a need for that. The other bushings will get used in here, and that portable press, I think that's going to go up on the block, or hate to say out in the trash, but I just don't think I have a need for it, considering what the package came with and all the goodies. So this stuff is a keeper. Everything is very clean, very smooth, and operating, I think, pretty flawlessly compared to what the seller told me. So a little time, a little tinkering, a little cleaning, and this puppy is like new. Okay, gang, last video on the iron press. I promise. And the only reason I'm making this, and hopefully this solution will fit, is as I was doing my testing and whatnot, I had a number of primers and other just drop in these 2 holes. And these holes are made for the RCBS mounting system. Why would Hornady make holes compatible with an RCBS mounting system? And they have their holes for their Hornady mounting system, or the standard Hornady mounting holes. And then these are RCBS mounting plate holes. So I stopped off at the hardware store and picked up these, hopefully that will fit, little covers. So we will pop that open, and drum roll, da 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 da. Let's do cameras in the way naturally. Okay, bingo. Those fit perfect. What a stupid ass idea. Oh, let me rephrase that. What an idea. I have difficulty understanding why Company A would make holes for Company B's product. Oh well. So now we have nice covers, so things won't drop in those holes. And I did reach out to Hornady for spare parts for the small priming cup, spring, and pin. An extra spring here. Maybe this is, you know, part of why it binds. Who knows? But Hornady is very cool. All the parts were shipped free of charge, so those should be here in a week or so. But I won't make a video of that. So we're going to call now hole covered iron press done.